You've been lied to. Everything you think you know about ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs is wrong. Hollywood sold you magic spells and alien prophecies. But when scientists finally cracked the Rosetta Stone in 1822, they didn't find mystical incantations. They found tax receipts. Fake news.
We cannot work like this. The sun is unbearable and the stones are too heavy.
I do not care. The Pharaoh demands progress. Get back to work!
And medical advice so bizarre, it would get you arrested today. The truth is far stranger than any curse. And today, I'm going to prove it to you. Because what the ancient Egyptians actually wrote reveals something terrifying about human nature. Something that connects their world directly to ours. Something that shows we haven't changed at all in 3,000 years. Let's begin with the biggest lie of all. The alien aircraft conspiracy. There's a carving at the Temple of Abydos that broke the internet before the internet even existed. In 1997, photographs started circulating among conspiracy theorists. The images showed hieroglyphics that appeared to depict modern technology. A helicopter, a submarine, a hovercraft. Some even claimed to see a fighter jet. Ancient astronaut theorists went wild. "This is proof," they shouted, that time travelers visited ancient Egypt, that aliens brought advanced technology to the Pharaohs. The History Channel devoted entire episodes to this mystery. Books were written, documentaries were filmed. Millions of people believed it. But here's what actually happened. And it's so mundane, so incredibly boring, that it proves something important about how we see history. We want it to be mysterious. We need it to be magical, because the truth is disappointing. Around 1290 BCE, Pharaoh Seti I commissioned inscriptions at the Temple of Abydos. His son, Ramses II, later took power. Now, Ramses had a problem. He wanted his name everywhere. He wanted his propaganda on every wall.
Stop! The calculations are wrong! The weight is too much for the ramp angle! Stop before it collapses!
So Ramses did what any cost-cutting bureaucrat would do. He plastered over his father's name and carved his own on top. This technique is called palimpsest. It's the ancient equivalent of using correction fluid on a mistake. For 3,000 years, that plaster held. Ramses's propaganda covered his father's inscriptions perfectly. But plaster doesn't last forever. Around the 1950s, the outer layer began to crack and fall away. And here's where it gets interesting. When two unrelated hieroglyphics overlap, they create new shapes, completely random shapes. A bow and arrow symbol from Seti's era, layered over an arm symbol from Ramses's inscription. Together they formed what looks exactly like a helicopter rotor. A reed boat merged with a column created the submarine shape. Other symbols combined to produce the hovercraft and jet. It wasn't technology, it wasn't prophecy. It was the ancient world's version of a typo. A bureaucratic shortcut that accidentally created the greatest conspiracy theory of the 20th century. Think about that for a moment. Millions of people saw evidence of aliens, when really, they were looking at evidence of a cheap pharaoh trying to save money on renovations. But this reveals something crucial. If the Egyptians weren't writing about the future, were they at least truthful about their present? Not even close. The original fake news empire. Ramses II wasn't just a cost-cutting pharaoh. He was the greatest propagandist in human history. He ruled for 67 years. He built more monuments than any other pharaoh. And he lied on every single one of them. His masterpiece of deception was the Battle of Kadesh in 1274 BCE. This battle was fought between Egypt and the Hittite Empire in what is now Syria. On the walls of multiple temples, Ramses carved his version of events. According to his inscriptions, he single-handedly defeated thousands of Hittite warriors. The carvings show him standing alone in his chariot. arrows bouncing harmlessly off his divine body.
Get back! Move!
Enemy soldiers fleeing in terror.
They're coming! Run!
His own troops abandoning him, only to watch in awe as he achieved impossible victory. The inscriptions call it the day Ramses became a living god. For 3,000 years, historians believed this story. Ramses was celebrated as a military genius, a warrior king who defied impossible odds. Then, in 1906, archaeologists working in Turkey made a discovery that shattered everything. They found Hittite records, clay tablets describing the exact same battle, but their version was very, very different. According to the Hittites, Ramses walked into an ambush. His army was surrounded and nearly destroyed. Ramses himself barely escaped with his life. The battle ended in a stalemate at best. And 16 years later, Ramses signed a peace treaty with the Hittites. A treaty of equals, not the treaty of a conqueror, but of a survivor. The Hittites even have records of the treaty negotiations. Records that show Ramses desperately needed peace because Egypt was economically exhausted. So why did Ramses lie? Because propaganda works. For 3 millennia, his version of history was the only version that mattered. His temple stood as permanent proof of his greatness. The Hittite tablets were buried and forgotten. Control the narrative, and you control reality. It doesn't matter what actually happened. It only matters what people believe happened. This is the first recorded example of systematic political propaganda in human history. Ramses didn't invent lying, but he perfected it on an industrial scale. And he did it with hieroglyphics. Those mysterious symbols weren't magical. They were weapons in an information war. But not all Egyptian writing was propaganda. Some of it was far more relatable and far more human. The world's oldest social media. Forget the temples. Forget the tombs of kings. The real story of ancient Egypt is written in trash, literally. At a site called Deir el-Medina, archaeologists discovered something extraordinary. This was the village where workers lived while building the Valley of the Kings, the men who carved the royal tombs, the artisans who painted the elaborate funeral scenes. These weren't slaves, despite what Hollywood told you. They were skilled professionals, unionized workers with salaries, benefits, and legal rights. And they left behind thousands of limestone fragments and broken pottery shards. These fragments are called ostraca. They're the ancient world's equivalent of scratch paper, notepads, post-it notes, and the Egyptians wrote everything on them. Grocery lists, love letters, jokes, and most importantly, the world's first documented worker complaints. In 1980, French archaeologist Yaroslav Cherny published a translation of the attendance records from Deir el-Medina. These records spanned over 50 years, and they listed every single absence, along with the reason given. When I read these reasons, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Brewing beer. That was an accepted excuse for missing work. Bitten by a scorpion. Fair enough. Embalming my mother. Understandable. Wife or daughter menstruating. Wait, what? Yes. Multiple times in these records, men took days off because their wives or daughters were having their periods. Now, this might sound strange to us, but it reveals something profound about Egyptian society. These men weren't absent because of some religious taboo. They were absent because they were taking care of household duties. Ancient Egyptian women, during menstruation, were often excused from certain chores. Their husbands and fathers filled in. This wasn't oppression. This was a family structure where men actively participated in domestic life.
This looks wonderful. Thank you.
I hope you enjoy it.
The pyramid must be finished by the moon's turning. Work faster.
We are not slaves. We work hard, but we will not be broken.
Honored scribe, I ask leave to attend to my family in the village.
Very well. See that you return for the evening count.
The Egyptians figured this out 3,000 years ago. But the attendance records reveal even more. having a fight with my wife.
How could you do this to our family? You bring shame upon Ra's name!
Please, I beg you,
Stop this!
Building my personal tomb. Went to retrieve a stolen donkey. One worker, a man named Pendua, missed 12 days in a single month. His excuse? Suffered the wrath of the god. No further explanation provided, and apparently none was required. But my favorite entries are the ones that show pure, unfiltered human laziness. Feeling weak. Nursing a hangover. Just didn't feel like it. Okay, that last one is my interpretation. But the actual hieroglyphic phrase translates to absent for personal reasons. Sound familiar? These workers also left graffiti. Lots of graffiti. On the walls of the very tombs they were building. And it wasn't respectful. One inscription, found in the tomb of Ramses VI, reads, "Scribe Amenacht came here to see the beautiful tomb. He got drunk and remembers nothing." Another says, "The painter Caro made this. Please don't judge his work. He was rushed." There are love notes, insults directed at supervisors, crude jokes that remain funny 4,000 years later. One worker carved, "The foreman's breath smells like a dead donkey." Another wrote, "If you can read this, you're not working." These people weren't mystical beings obsessed with death and the afterlife. They were regular humans trying to survive boring jobs. They gossiped. They complained about management. They looked forward to days off. They got drunk and regretted it the next morning. Sound familiar? It should, because these workers are us. Separated by time, but identical in spirit. The hieroglyphics don't show us gods. They show us ourselves. But the ancient Egyptians didn't just write about work and family. They also wrote about medicine. And some of their medical advice was absolutely insane. Ancient medicine, genius, or madness?
Are these genuine Theban markings from the 19th dynasty?
Absolutely, Effendi. It is from a royal tomb, untouched until now.
This scroll, now called the Ebers Papyrus, is one of the oldest medical documents in existence. It dates to around 1550 BCE, 20 meters long, 110 pages of medical prescriptions and diagnostic techniques. Some of it is brilliant, some of it is horrifying. Let's start with the brilliant. The Ebers Papyrus contains a pregnancy test. Here's how it worked. A woman would urinate on 2 separate piles of grain. 1 pile of barley, 1 pile of wheat. If the barley sprouted first, the baby would be male. If the wheat sprouted first, the baby would be female. If neither sprouted, she wasn't pregnant. For 3,000 years, scholars dismissed this as superstitious nonsense. Then, in 1963, a laboratory in Cairo decided to test it. They collected urine samples from pregnant women and non-pregnant women. They poured the samples on grain, exactly as the papyrus instructed. The results shocked everyone. 70% accuracy. Urine from pregnant women caused the grain to sprout. Urine from non-pregnant women did not. Why? Because pregnant women's urine contains elevated levels of estrogen and other hormones that promote plant growth. The ancient Egyptians didn't understand hormones, but through trial and error, they discovered a pregnancy test that worked. The Ebers Papyrus also contains surprisingly accurate treatments for infections. Honey and moldy bread were used to dress wounds. We now know that honey is a powerful antibacterial agent. And moldy bread contains natural penicillin. The Egyptians were using antibiotics 1,500 years before Christ. They treated migraines with crushed willow bark. That's aspirin. Willow bark contains salicylic acid, the active ingredient in modern aspirin. But for every medical miracle in the Ebers Papyrus, there are 5 recipes that sound like fever dreams. Treatment for baldness? Mix equal parts of lion fat, hippopotamus fat, crocodile fat, cat fat, snake fat, and ibex fat. Boil until smooth. Apply to scalp daily. Why 5 different animal fats? No explanation given. Just trust the process. Treatment for a splinter? Combine worm blood and crushed donkey dung. Apply to affected area. Treatment for digestive problems? Swallow a mouse whole. Yes. A dead mouse, whole, fur and all. The papyrus specifies that the mouse must be recently killed. Apparently, freshness mattered. But my absolute favorite is the cure for an annoying child. I'm not joking. The Ebers Papyrus has a prescription for silencing a crying child. Ingredients: poppy seeds and fly excrement. Mix into a paste, feed to child. Poppy seeds contain morphine. So yes, this would absolutely silence a crying child. It would silence any child, possibly forever. This wasn't medicine. This was pharmaceutical-grade child sedation, and the priests recommended it. The Egyptians also had beauty treatments that ranged from clever to catastrophic. Anti-aging cream made from crushed donkey hooves and crocodile dung. Lipstick made from crushed beetles mixed with lead. Yes, lead. They literally poisoned themselves for fashion. Cleopatra famously wore kohl eyeliner, beautiful, dramatic, and made from lead sulfide. Years of use caused neurological damage and blindness. But it looked incredible. The ancient Egyptians understood more about medicine than any civilization of their time, and simultaneously knew nothing at all. They performed successful brain surgery. Evidence from skulls shows trepanation procedures where patients survived and healed. But they also thought the heart controlled thought, and the brain was useless. They understood that infected wounds needed treatment, but they treated those wounds with feces. It's a testament to human resilience that anyone survived ancient medical care. But beyond medicine, the Egyptians wrote about something even darker: death, and how to protect it. The real curses, ancient security systems. Here's what you think you know about Egyptian curses. Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered in 1922. Several members of the excavation team died mysteriously. Therefore, the mummy's curse is real. Except none of that is true. Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's financier, died 5 months after the tomb was opened. Cause of death? Infected mosquito bite leading to pneumonia. He was 57 years old, in poor health, and living in unsanitary conditions in the Egyptian desert. His death wasn't mysterious, it was predictable. Howard Carter, the archaeologist who actually opened the tomb and spent years inside it, lived for 17 more years. He died of natural causes at age 64. Most of the excavation team lived long, healthy lives. The curse of the mummy was invented by newspapers to sell copies. It worked. But there were real curses in ancient Egypt. Just not the Hollywood kind. They're called tomb protection spells, and they're brutal. Here's what the Egyptians actually carved on tomb walls. Any person who disturbs this tomb, I will seize his neck like a bird's. I will instill fear in him so that the living may see and the dead may fear. That's not mystical. That's a direct threat. Another inscription reads, "The crocodile shall be against him in water, the snake against him on land. He who does anything against this tomb shall be judged by the gods." Another says, "Any ruler or official who disturbs this place, Thoth shall take his position. His offerings shall be taken away. He shall not receive water in the necropolis." These aren't magical curses, they're legal and religious threats. The Egyptians believed deeply in the afterlife, but they also knew that belief wasn't enough to stop tomb robbers. So they added consequences: social ostracism, divine punishment, and in some cases, very specific physical violence. "I will wring his neck like that of a goose." That appears multiple times across different tombs. The gooseneck wringing comparison was apparently a popular intimidation technique. Some tombs took it further. They included detailed descriptions of afterlife punishments for thieves. "His body shall be destroyed by fire. his name shall be erased. He shall become like the people who have never existed. The ultimate threat in Egyptian culture wasn't death. It was being forgotten. Having your name erased meant complete spiritual annihilation. No afterlife, no resurrection, just void. So yes, Egyptian tombs were cursed. But not with magic. With psychological warfare.